you like ribs so tender that the bones pull out clean? Well, so do I. With this recipe and method I'll show you today, you'll get tender ribs with the bones sliding off every time. By the way, they're absolutely delicious. You will not want to miss out on this. Let me show you how to make it. For the dry rub, you will need 1.5 tablespoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of cumin, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, and 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. And finally, half a cup of brown sugar. Whisk all of those dry ingredients together until everything is completely combined and evenly distributed. This dry rub is enough for 2 full racks of ribs. And speaking of ribs, that's what we'll need now. 2 racks of baby back ribs. For these ribs, we just need to do a little bit of prep. We need to remove the silver skin that's at the bottom of the rack. The silver skin is a thin membrane of connective tissue covering and holding the ribs together. Removing this membrane is one of the keys to making a slab of great ribs. To remove the silver skin, I like to start on the more narrow end of the ribs, and using a small knife, I puncture the membrane and insert the knife a little bit farther just to get things started. Give a couple swift cuts if needed, and once there's enough excess membrane to hold on to, you can simply pull it all the way across the rack. This might split down the middle like mine did here, but you can simply find the excess end that's left over and pull again. If you don't remove the silver skin, it can end up making the ribs a bit chewy and rubbery, but it can also prevent the seasonings from penetrating the underside of the ribs. And unseasoned meat is less tasty. At least I think so. Do the same thing with the second rack of ribs and enjoy a nice, satisfactory single pull of that silver skin. And once the ribs are prepped, it's time to pack on that seasoning. This dry rub is enough for both racks, so use half for each. Generously rub, press in, and massage in the spice into all surfaces of the ribs. You want to make sure this is nicely coated and pressed in everywhere so that flavor is on every single bit of meat. Once the ribs are all rubbed down completely, wrap and encase in aluminum foil. It's good to make sure that there are no openings and it's fully enclosed because these things will let out some nice juices, but to me that leaves a mess, and I like to not have a lot of cleanup later. So keep these closed in to help limit cleanup. Once the ribs are ready and fully enclosed, put both of them onto a large baking sheet and into an oven preheated to 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 2.5 to 3 hours. You could also do the same thing on the grill, same temp, same amount of time, just on indirect heat. Either way, once the baking is done, the last step is the grill, where we're going to add some nice grill marks and caramelization. Carefully remove the foil to reveal some of the most beautiful and tender ribs. So tender, in fact, that this one was falling apart just when I was trying to take the foil off. And these bones just slide off the meat. I love cooking with this method. I mean, take a look at this here. I can pull the bone right out of the pocket of the meat, and all that meat stays together. I just love it. But for the purposes of this next step, I'm going to put that bone right back. I want to give this slab a fighting chance as to not falling apart when I transfer it to the grill. Speaking of which, go ahead and get that grill ready, increase to about medium-high heat, give a quick clean if necessary, and thank goodness I have propane. I did check this time. It's a callback to my grilled pork tenderloin recipe. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Once that grill is hot, it's time to sauce up these ribs. Today I'm using my go-to, Sweet Baby Ray's. Chris, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Next time I will use Stubbs. Regardless of which sauce you're using, slather up both the slabs nice. And transfer the slab, sauce side down, directly onto the heat of the grill. This grilling is going to do a couple things. It's going to add some additional flavor. It's going to add some char marks, some crisp, some caramelization of the sauce. Now, word of caution, these ribs are fully cooked, so the longer these stay on, the more potential you have of drying out this meat. So while they're grilling, slather up the bottom sides, and after just about a minute of grilling, give these a flip to the other side. Grill for another 30 to 60 seconds, just enough to get some color and to start caramelizing that sauce. I wonder if next time I do this, I should make a homemade sauce. What do you think? Would you be interested in learning how to make a homemade barbecue sauce? Let me know what you think in the comments. I might just have to try that out. So after these slabs have gotten a good grill on both sides, they are done. They are good to go. The only thing left to do is to bring them inside and pull out some bones. Yes, for me, my favorite way to eat ribs is to just take out all of the bones and have a large chunk of meat. I don't necessarily love eating individual ribs off of each bone. I think it takes longer, it's messy, and yes, I know ribs being messy is just a part of the game, but hey, I'm more in it for the meat. I will gladly eat ribs off the bone, but if I have the choice, I like pulling all the bones out. I find it very satisfying, and I get a large hunk of meat at the end. Also, prepping it this way makes it very easy to slice off a chunk and put it onto a bun for a sandwich. rib sandwiches are excellent. That's actually how my wife and I enjoyed these leftovers. If it wasn't already clear from me pulling out every single one of these bones for you, this meat is ridiculously tender. And even though 99% of the cook time was in the oven, these things taste like a barbecue, even from that short little time on the grill. Overall, I love this recipe and this method, but let's see what my kids think.
You got rib meat?
Okay. 1, 2. Wait. And that go there.
And there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed and learned something from this rib cooking method. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. The channel's getting close to 1,000 subscribers now, which is awesome. We'll see if it happens, but for now, I'll just keep making more videos. Thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you next time.